What is going on, guys? Today I want to give you guys an update on the 1 week clownfish fry. So, as the title states, mistakes were made, a lot of mistakes were made, and there were a lot of great learning opportunities for me just because this was really the only second time that I've actually done this. So, sadly to say, as of today, all the fries are gone. But what I really want to talk about is kind of some of the mistakes that I made and probably some of the adjustments I'll make on the next batch. So actually the first time around when I actually tried this maybe like 2 years ago, the fry didn't actually make it past the next hatching day. So actually once they hatch, I saw a couple of them and the next day they all died. Actually this time around the fries for the most part made it to the 5th and 6th day and they didn't make it afterwards. So I actually would say that was actually probably a big improvement and actually a big achievement for me so far. So I'm gonna start off with the eggs itself. So for me, after doing a bunch of reading online, they said around 8 to 10 days was when the actual eggs would hatch, and for the most part, that is actually really true. Um, I kind of jumped the gun and actually pulled the eggs on around day 6 as a precaution and actually just in case if the eggs did hatch. And one or two did hatch around like day 7, but I would say 80 to 90% of them hatched around day 9 and 10. So by pulling the eggs early, the eggs weren't getting fanned by the parents. This basically prevents any kind of fungal growth onto the eggs where it can kill the little eggs. And so you would have to basically put a air stone across the eggs, and for the most part it would do its job, but it wasn't really as good as the actual parent. So mistake number 2 would be the lighting. So I really only had one LED that actually was kind of a very long LED that supported 4 tanks, and it was on a timer, so it would turn on around 5 and turn off around 11:30. So I was using this setup and it was set to the lowest setting that it actually can handle. But even at the lowest setting, the light was still way too strong for the fries. So when the light was on, the fry was actually hugging the side of the glass versus actually swimming around and actually eating the rotifers. And by the time I've actually noticed this was on maybe day 4 or so, I actually added a filter to the light to actually help reduce and cut down the intensity of the light. By actually adding that filter in, it actually helped the fries out a lot. They actually started to swim a little bit more and actually started looking for food. Another mistake with the lighting was I didn't actually set it to 24 hours. With the fry, they actually have very poor vision by basically having it completely dark or having it on a timer where it would turn on and off. The fries actually can't see the food, and if they're not eating, they're not growing, and if they're not eating, they're potentially actually just dying. So I actually didn't set the lights to 24 hours until maybe day 5 or 6. By the time I actually realized that, it was already day 5 or 6, and a majority of the fry had already perished. So the last mistake was actually the live food. For the first 4 days, I was actually only using a syringe size pull of the Rotifers to actually dose into the tank. And I will be honest with you, that is nowhere near enough food for the amount of fry in the actual tank. The second thing was I didn't have a Rotifer filter or coffee filter to actually filter the Rotifer out so I can actually dose more of the Rotifer into the tank. I was actually using straight up Rotifer water and actually putting them into the tank, which is fine. But you kind of introduce a possibility of fouling the tank a little bit sooner than later, just because the rotifer are always reproducing, eating a lot, and they put a lot of waste actually into the water itself. So I didn't have a filter, and I don't drink coffee, so I don't have a coffee filter. I guess I could have bought some, but I didn't really realize that. I was like, oh man, this could potentially foul the tank until way later into the actual process. So really, to sum it up, I wasn't really prepared at all. I actually really didn't think my clownfish was actually going to lay anytime soon, just because they haven't laid for maybe like over a year, and the setup was actually fairly newer. They generally like to kind of settle down and take their sweet time to actually lay eggs. And even though they actually laid eggs, I wasn't really considered raising them. So the next time around when they actually do lay eggs, I'll be ready. I actually have a lot of this thing set up, and by taking some of these key mistakes that I've made, I'll make some adjustments, and we'll see if we can get a better batch next time. All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's update and actually learned something. If you guys aren't subscribed yet, make sure you guys are subscribed. And like always, until next time, guys, peace.